Captain. Guess I got a little bit ahead of myself there and forgot to start the video when we actually started. Sometimes you kind of squirrel out and you really get going on the project, and you know, other times I just really don't give a flying you know what. So, and I don't feel like setting up the camera. I listen to my music on that thing. I can't do both at once, you know, I'm simple. Okay, enough of the BS. So what the hell are we doing here? What's the squirrel up to this time? Here we got it a, I don't know, 856, 857 Wheel Horse. This came from local Western New York State, 700 miles from here, where I also grew up. We'll get more into that story later. What we got over here? That is a mid-1920s, 1925 to 7, basically 100-year-old Sattley. Yeah, that was made for Montgomery Ward, Monkey Ward as they called it. That's 300 pounds of cast iron, hit and miss, about 40 cubic inch, a whopping 1.5 horsepower at 550 RPMs. What does that equate to? 1.5 horsepower ain't gonna pull a greasy string out of a cat's ass, let alone do this, is it? 1.5 horsepower at 550 RPMs is about 15 foot-pounds of torque. That's about the same as an 8, 10, maybe even a 12 horse Briggs or a Kohler. We're gonna move this thing with torque. All right, happy Saturday, YouTube. This is Captain 315 reporting from Satan's bunghole. Okay, or maybe just North Carolina in mid-July. Whew, man, this heat is pretty stupid. We got the little makeshift AC over here in the corner. It'll keep this little area here, at least take it to somewhat tolerable, instead of absolutely oppressive and wanting to go off the rails because it's so ridiculous. But anyhow, here we are. Enough about the weather and all that crap. I'm not a weatherman. I'm a tractor guy. Well, not really that either, but some stuff got done. The mock-up got done. Let's talk about it for a minute. Whammed it and slammed it, and the mock-up is done. What's a mock-up? That's before you do anything intricate on a project. Just take all your major components and slam, bam, and set them and move them around and figure out if everything's even gonna work or not. Well, I'll be danged that this is gonna work. Everything's gonna fit under the stock hood, which is pretty cool. Got clearance. Somebody else cut that out. I've got the piece and we'll weld that back in. It's all gonna fit. I did have to move the dash back. As you can see, the dash is gonna go back, looking at the original hole versus here. Dash, tunnel, everything's gotta go back about 3 inches. That's gonna allow clearance here. We'll have to lengthen the steering, fan gear and steering shaft. Little trickery here. We're gonna have to kind of stand the steering wheel upright and hope that we can still catch enough of that fan gear to run the steering and not have it breaking. That's gonna require a little voodoo and trickery, but I think we can do it. Also, by rotating that forward, that is allowing us to rotate the dash as such and be able to pick up that hood and make up for that distance there and not have to do any hood extension or anything. Again, doing that, now we're gonna have to run a removable wheel so we can get the hood open. The tunnel and everything being back about 3 inches, we're basically gonna use the front hole in the tunnel and pick up the rear hole in the trans. Now that's gonna move the fenders back, and I am a stickler about having fenders centered up. They just look goofy if not. So in order to center it up, we're basically gonna section this and just move this part forward a little bit, but we're on a roll here. Hey, real quick before we go any further, man, that is just, I cannot get that light stripe out. Ooh, squirrel. Anyhow, hey, serious question real quick. You know, I already have a problem with running my trap too much and dragging things out, and make a long story short, does not happen with Captain. You know, I don't show a lot of the action like some people do in their videos, the cutting, the grinding, the actual nitty gritty and tools flying and cussing and swearing. I kind of do the work and then I turn the potato back on and show everybody what I've done. I want to know, would you rather see some of the action? I mean, it's kind of hard to do holding the phone, and I don't have a videographer out here, so Miss Captain don't even want to walk in here because it's such a disaster, and I don't blame her. So I don't know, you got them comments down in there or something? Folks, let me know. I could use a little input. Would you rather see me shut my mouth a little bit and show a little more action? I don't know. Go down in there and tell me, man, you suck, dude. Well, you watch enough of my video to determine that I suck, so put it down there in the comments. Whatever. I don't know. Just seriously though, let me know down there, folks. We doing all right with this? I'm doing it for you. So we got the two halves cut apart here. It ended up actually being 2.3 inches, 2 inches, 300 thousandths that we're gonna shorten it. What we're doing here is plug welding. Gonna put a little, basically just a plate so that we're not butt welding it here. This isn't like a super strength spot. Butt welding could probably be done and it would be okay, but I don't know. I've always liked doing plug welds, and it probably comes from having to weld holes when I'm blowing holes through stuff all the time and doing crappy stuff. So it's kind of fun. We're gonna go ahead and do this and plate it up, and I'm gonna probably leave it, just do a little mild grinding on it, but I just kind of dig that industrial look. We may leave it like that for good. Well, this is where we ended up today. Kind of dig them plug welds along there. It ain't going anywhere. So we managed to take 2.3 out right here. That brought the dash back. This rear part, as you can see, I actually ended up using both trans bolts. So this rear section of the tunnel, seat bracket, or fender bracket, that is all right in the factory location. So we basically just shove this all back. Now we're working on steering. We got to take that fan gear and steering block back. I don't know, it's probably almost 5 inches to clear the crankcase on the engine. And I don't know, I voted against trying to tip that gear forward. It's just too much of a mess, and this system works pretty good on these things. So anyhow, that's what we got. Stay tuned.